on our show, The Cube. Looking around and being a teen myself, I know it is sometimes hard to see how alone teens can all feel. Conflicting with that, we teens are all so different from one another, which makes problem solving that much more of a challenge. However, this show, I believe, gives us all an outlet to feel alive and be united as we discover we have so much more in common even through our differences. And I believe that is what is most important right now. Please consider becoming a supporter or an advertiser today. Your help will make a real difference. Thank you.
You can support The Cube by purchasing commercial spots during our show, become an individual sponsor, or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teens. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you. Hello and welcome to The Cube, right here on ktsmaz.com. My name is Bob Cooper, along with Tristan Peterson-Steinert, and we are the adult moderators for today's show. The past 11 months have been some of the most trying times in American history. The worldwide COVID-19 pandemic has impacted every single one of our lives in many different ways. Adults continue to debate many aspects of this disease, but the impact it has had on our teenagers is undeniable. Today, we ask the adults to stop their debate for just a moment and to listen to our panel of teens on what they have experienced and how COVID has impacted them personally. Parents, teachers, community and political leaders, this is a show you do not want to miss. Welcome back to The Cube.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
We reached out to AC Doctors because our air had gone just warm, I guess. It wasn't cooling as we had liked. I feel like I don't have to worry that what they say is the issue or what they're going to fix is not accurate. I know that when they tell me something's wrong and they're going to fix it, that's what's wrong. They're not trying to, pull one over on me. They have really good quality work. When they come to service our units, we usually don't have an issue throughout the year. And they're very clean about what they do, and their service people are nice and friendly and kind. I feel comfortable having them in my home. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Welcome back to The Cube here on ktsmaz.com. At the time we're filming this episode, we have had over 760,000 cases and over 13,000 deaths of COVID-19 in the state of Arizona. The U.S. has seen over 440,000 deaths across the country and over 2.2 million deaths around the world. We hear from politicians and newsmakers every day about the impact of this pandemic. But today we listen to our teens, as they have been impacted as well. So as you all know, back on March the 11th of 2020, Arizona announced a state of emergency. On March 15th, schools were closed, and March 20th, businesses were forced to shut down. I'm interested to know what was going on in your lives and what you were feeling during these first few weeks of the pandemic. So let's start with, where were you? What was happening when you found out about COVID-19 and its impact?
For me, I think the very first time I heard about it, I was in school. It was my last hour. I was in English, and my friend had made a meme of our English teacher, and they're like, "Oh, he has corona," and I was like, "What's corona?" And they're like, "Oh, it's this big thing that's happening. Someone ate a bat," and I was like, "Okay, that's okay. Why is that going to affect me?" And I was just kind of like went on with my day and my life until like now I'm realizing like, oh, now I know what it is. This is perfect. This is great.
Right. The first time I heard about it, I was online in December, and I saw a video of a doctor in Wuhan, and he was screaming on the phone. And I looked more into it, and there was, a pandemic in China, and I was kind of scared. You get that feeling in your gut sometimes that something's gonna happen. And then I went to school, and I said bye to my teachers because we had break. And then this has been the longest spring break I've ever had, and we're still spring break.
Yeah, for me, I heard about the bat thing too. I remember I was actually in a show at VYT, and I was driving home and with my carpool, and I remember she brought it up, and she was like, we were like, oh, there's a virus that's breaking out because some guy ate a bat in China. And I was like, that was stupid. Who would eat a bat? But then I remember the week leading up to the actual shutdown, I was in Washington, D.C. for a school field trip. And I remember we were all joking around on the school bus, and we were all like, oh, someone has to get COVID, take one for the team, and so we can not have school for 2 weeks.
Oh man. I was familiar with the word for a little bit, but I mean the biggest, it all happened really suddenly. Probably the day, I think it was the day before we shut down. We all the Brophy boys got called in. Principal Ryan was like, guys, you know what? There's this thing going on, and you know what? We might have to ban handshakes. However, and everyone's like, oh, shaking their hands in the audience, and he's like, but I will let you know, we are not going to shut down. We don't have any intentions of doing that. And then the next day we got an email that's like, all right, everybody, we are going to be shut down for 2 weeks. And that was pretty much the very beginning.
I remember when Brophy shut down because I went to St. Francis, which is the middle school that leads into Brophy. And we were all on the bus, and they were like, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, Brophy got shut down. Yes! That means St. Francis is gonna get shut down. We were so excited.
Yeah, because I think everyone thought it would be very temporary, and we didn't realize
100%.
how long it would go on. I was in Disneyland. Woo! And I had heard about it because some of our family friends traveled to Italy and got it and came back. But that was the only thing I heard about it, and nobody was really scared. We weren't shut down. And so we were in Disneyland. We knew that some people had been getting it, but it wasn't as prevalent. And so we did hand sanitizer a lot and wore gloves while we were there because Disneyland's a pretty germy place, just because my mom was like, just in case. And we didn't really know. And I believe we were there Friday, and they made an announcement the day we were at the park that was we're closing on Saturday tomorrow. And we freaked out, and we went home early, and it was really weird and scary, especially because I wasn't even home. And it was just all of a sudden I turned on the news and it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I think it was January, February. I think it was I don't even know. But I was in a show, and I had heard about it on the Snapchat news. They have a news thingy on the Snapchat app, and I heard about it, and then I came to the show the next day, and this guy in the cast was walking around with this spray, and he was spraying on the doorknobs, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, there's a virus in China, someone ate a bat. And I was like, what? I read about that. I didn't know that was actually real. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think mine was kind of similar to Mitra because we actually were in Washington, D.C. DC when the Capitol got shut down. It was our last day there, and like we went to the Capitol the day before. And then I remember like one of the politicians there was like, yeah, like we're getting kind of worried about this virus. Like we're thinking that we're gonna have to like put the whole like country into a lockdown. And we were all kind of like, what? Like that's a little extreme. Like I don't think that we're really gonna have to do that. And then the next day, like we were getting on the airplane out for the way home. And again, like we weren't home, so it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
And they were like, the Capitol's closing. We were like, it was just weird.
Kayla?
So a little earlier, back in January, I remember my social studies teacher had created a presentation for us, sort of explaining what the coronavirus was. But this was at a point where it wasn't really a big deal yet. So none of us were really concerned. But I remember thinking, it's in China, it's okay, it won't come over to us in the US, you'll be okay. But that week, when everything shut down, I remember we were gonna have an assembly and I was supposed to like perform in it. And since I'm a part of student government, I was gonna run it. And then suddenly they were like, okay, we're no longer doing the assembly. And I was like, that's weird. And then my mom was like, let's just not go to school tomorrow. And I was like, that's also really, really weird. And now we're here.
I think I remember I think it was the last week of school before the shutdown. And I remember my whole math class was like asking my math teacher, what is this? Like, what's going on? Do you think it's actually gonna have an effect? And like, she showed us all this math and she was like, guys, it's in China. Like the last like big pandemic was this and this and this. And yeah, now I just always think about that because like that's what everyone said. Everyone's like, it's in China.
So how has it impacted your lives? Let's not give the full story in 1 minute, but let's start with school. So we talked a lot about school, thinking, oh, great, no school for a couple of days. But how did that turn out?
It was very difficult, but I also really loved online school because I liked not having to get up every day at 6:30.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt independent enough as a student and had the resources available for me to make online school happen, but I know that it's a challenge for a lot of people. But for me, I really loved online school. I still really do like it. It's just the social part that's really difficult, which of course is a big part of school, right? You can't really you can't do stupid stuff on Zoom. So that's been kind of the hardest thing.
I think it's hard too, because like, I feel like every student's different, but I personally don't like online. And Zoom is very exhausting for me, especially because I dance on Zoom. And being in a room by yourself, having a teacher like correct you and not having like the community of other people around you, it's very overwhelming and can make you kind of feel like not as full of worth or like a little like worthless, as much as that's deep. And I think it's hard because as a teacher, I feel like they don't understand because they still get to give and teach us. But I feel like we're kind of missing out on like the fun and like the things that make you want to pay attention in school. We're missing out on that. And it's kind of just like sit here and look at a screen, which I think we're all pretty sick of doing. And then on top of that, our social life is now also on a screen. So it's kind of draining to me personally.
Yeah, I don't like it's sit here on a screen all day for school and then have homework on your screen. And then once you're done with your homework on your screen, you get on your phone on your screen. And it's just like so much technology. But I think also like the teachers and students, but I just can't imagine how frantic that was for teachers to just like change their whole curriculum. Yeah,
it was really crazy. I remember in the very beginning, it was all over the place. We didn't have any Zoom meetings. Teachers were just randomly putting assignments in Google Classroom. They could barely reach half of their students because not all the students had access to technology, which I was really grateful that I still had, but not everybody still had access to that. And then after that, there was this whole thing that was going on because we're a public school with the whole grading situation. So it was really all over the place and really, really crazy.
Yeah, I loved for the last quarter, we had nothing was negatively impacted on our grade.
Yes.
So I had a free-for-all, and which was, don't listen to me. But yeah.
Yeah, I loved it because again, like we didn't have Zoom for the first for the rest of like my 8th grade year, we didn't have like Zooms or anything like that. We would just do like what you said, like the just like assignments in our Google Classroom. And so I would love it because you could wake up whenever you wanted. So I'd wake up at 9, do like 2 hours of school, and then I'd like go outside and go on like a bike ride for the rest of the day. And I'd be like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm like barely doing school right now. Like, this is like fun. Like, it's like weekend every day.
Were you able to get your assignments done?
I think it's been way more of an issue this year just because, like, again, like everything's been getting a lot more like stricter. Xavier, it's really hard. Everything's online. And I'm a really not techie person. So, like, it wasn't doing the work that's hard for me. It's actually figuring out how to turn it in. That's really difficult for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brophy was very, it's just regular school, except it's on Zoom. So I got to save a little bit of time by not having to wake up and drive to school, but I already live pretty close to school. So we, from the very beginning, just did normal class schedule, except it was on Zoom. And now, as people started going in person this school year, they changed up the timing so that they could be like half people have lunch at a time and greater time in between periods. But it's pretty much just you go to school and you're either on Zoom for the entire class period or you're sitting in a chair, probably on Zoom for a class period.
I haven't been to a full day of school for a year.
Oh,
That's
man.
crazy.
I haven't eaten lunch at school in a year.
Oh my gosh.
So let's go. So did anyone go to school again after March through the end of the school year last year?
No.
Not last
No.
year's school
Okay.
year.
So starting up this year, are you in school?
So we went back for a whole 15 days. And then we got sent back home. But in the coming weeks, we're going to be returning to our hybrid model where some kids can choose to stay online and some kids can choose to go in person. And I'm going to be returning in person, which I'm very grateful for.
I do that too in New York. It's like hybrid. It's like every other day I'm in person training, and then if not, I'm doing Zoom from my apartment.
Anybody else?
I'm full in person.
I'm also in person.
Full time?
Well, you can kind of pick depending on the day.
In person.
In person?
But you can pick EDL, Enhanced Distant Learning, or in
Gotcha.
person.
I guess I'm the only one who's totally online then.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's our first segment about COVID-19. We're digging in a little bit here. We're learning about how we're adapting to school, and we've got so much more to talk about. Friends, parents, what is it like to have your parents home? We'll be right back on theCUBE on KTSMAZ.com.
Hello, my name is Raymond Cusick. I don't often get to hear young people's voices showcased in a professional way. I mean, I don't hear young people doing radio or talking on the news often. It's rare that people of my age group can have the opportunity to express their thoughts on a media platform that isn't social media. That's why theCUBE is so important. It gives young people the opportunity to bring up a discussion, to talk about things from our perspective. I hope that you would consider supporting this platform that gives young adults the chance to discuss. Become a sponsor or an advertiser today. Thank you.
You can support theCUBE by purchasing commercial spots during our show. Become an individual sponsor or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teens. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you.
My name is Leanne Leonard, and I'm the Executive Director of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank. The mission of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank as a faith-based nonprofit organization is to serve families and individuals in the Southwest Valley who are hungry, in need, and facing crisis. AFFCB has a heart for collaboration. Our annual events that we do each year are partnerships between local churches, businesses, and community members. We love to see how we can expand our reach by partnering with those businesses and churches in the area who have the same heart for missions that we do. The Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank would not exist without our amazing volunteers and donors. We're so grateful and appreciative to the many people over the last 23 years who have supported through their service of time or their donations, whether monetary or in kind. We have about 50 volunteers a week that come through, and they are the reason that we're able to keep our doors open. If you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank, I would encourage you to think about donating your time through volunteering, whether that's at our weekly programs or one of our annual events, or through donation. Both monetary and in-kind donations are welcome and accepted from all over the state of Arizona.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
We were experiencing some issues with our air conditioner not cooling our house properly in the summer heat, and so we called AC Doctors, and they were able to come out quickly and efficiently fix everything and be able to get our house up and running again. What made me the happiest about AC Doctors was the quality and efficiency of their techs as they came into my home. I felt they were very trustworthy and they did the job that they were needed to do and were able to get us back up and running. What exceeded my expectations about AC Doctors was the value of their work and their competitive price, along with having friendly and capable staff. If someone asked me if they should use AC Doctors, I would say absolutely. Their techs and their staff go above and beyond, and their prices are very competitive with anything else that we've seen. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down.
It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl? You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly.
Susie Awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. We're talking about COVID-19 and its impact on the young people, especially those who are our panelists here on theCUBE. We talked a little bit about school. So you've spent a lot of time at home. How has that been? How has that impacted your life to be with your parents, your mom, your dad, your siblings for extended periods of time?
Well, for me, I'm also all online. But so me and my mom both do online. She's a teacher. She's taught for like 28 or 29 years. And she teaches kindergarten. So now she teaches kindergarten online, which is insane. And so we both have pretty good schedules. I can wake up at like 10 or 11 and do my work. I'm only taking one class right now, which is amazing. And I can get that done in an hour or two. And then I'll have the rest of the day for myself. And then my mom teaches from 8 to 2. And then when she's done, we can just hang out and do whatever we want for the rest of the day. And so that's pretty great. It's been pretty easy.
I think it's cool, like, watching family dynamic change when we went into lockdown, because I'm always been pretty close with my family. So it wasn't as hard as I know it was for some families, but it was also really, I have this thing where it really makes me sad when like siblings don't get along. And so it was really cute and like, wow, to see like my friends talk about actually having to like get to know their siblings. And I think it was hard because there was a lot of like arguing and like not being comfortable, but I think it was good for a lot of families because at the end of the day, you have your family, and I don't know, it was pretty cool to me.
I really got to know my older sister. We're 6 years apart. And so, of course, like that was like our first bonding time. Like I used to go like literally 2 weeks without even like seeing her at my house. Like it was like, because we were always like out and doing stuff. So then when we weren't, we were like obviously forced to like see each other. And we like got along, but we just weren't close. Like it was just, hey. And yeah, we were really, it gave us a really good opportunity to get to know each other. And we actually realize like how many similarities that we have.
I think for me, well, in the school aspect, nothing changed for me because I am homeschooled, except for I was a senior, so I missed graduation and prom. I didn't get that. But other than that, nothing really changed. Whereas being at home, my family, I kind of feel lucky and I kind of get bashed for it, but we didn't strict quarantine. So, like, I mean, I didn't go out in public and, like, go see people, but I, like, would go in my car, like, drive around. I would go on a lot of runs. I don't like being home. Me and my family don't do good at home for too long. So I didn't really stay home a lot. So it's kind of the opposite for me.
I'm really thankful for my family dynamics. I get along really well with both my sisters and both my parents. And it's been really, I think it's been good for my family. My dad and I, you know, he owns a sporting goods store and I'm a theater kid. And, you know, he grew up playing football with his brothers. His dad was a football coach. You know, they had the whole football kind of gene, watching all the games. And then I came around and I'm like, I'm gonna be a theater kid. And yeah, I kind of broke that sort of lineage. I work at the sporting goods store. I'm like a cashier on Sundays. Not anymore, but I stop by every now and then. But I'm like, you know what, Dad? It would be kind of cool. What if we just like worked out just for fun, dude? And he, working at a sporting goods store, was able to get a ton of weights and stuff. And we'd go in the weight room and we just kind of, when we'd work out, we just kind of started forming this inside joke among my family, even like up to the uncles who talk about, you know, football, those kinds of guys. We met with them, and it's just as you drop your voice down low and you're like, dude, you want to go hit the weight room really quickly, dude? Let's pump some iron, dude. And my dad called the room with all the weights. I don't know where he came up with it. He called it the testosterone room. So now we're just like, hey, like my mom is like, you guys are such dorks. She says that all the time. And we're like, hey, Mom, Dad and I are just going to go hit the testosterone room really quickly. See you soon. Or my dad's like, I'm on my way to school. And he's like, Reese, let's hit the testosterone room after school. And it's just the funniest thing. And, you know, my mom, she works at a school, so it's been really tough trying to figure out how to do all the school things. And they're not necessarily the most technologically advanced. So I had to come in as Cantu tech support. And, you know, my mom called me and be like, hey, Reese, I need help putting the picture in a Google Slides. I made most of the presentations they would give to staff and parents. But I've just, you know, been really good with my dad, really good with my mom, and my sisters and I already just get along. So I'm thankful for that.
So we need to reach out to you if we need help with Google?
Cantu tech support, come on down.
Okay.
Was your dad's store affected by COVID?
It was very greatly. It was good for business because everybody's like, dude, I'm not going to the gym. That sucks. I'm going to go down to Play It Against Sports and get some weights or whatever. And I would sit there picking up the phone nonstop. Thank you for calling Play It Against Sports. So, I mean, at some point, my dad and I would have this, we go sports speaking. And it was super busy. Now it's kind of died down a lot, but it's been really good for us. And we're really grateful for that.
It was kind of the opposite for my dad, because my dad's a doctor.
Oh.
And you would think that would be like, which it's very exhausting now with like COVID. But at the beginning, everyone was scared to go to the doctors when we were in lockdown. So that was like a huge thing. And we would have him, like when he got home, go to like the other side of the house, and he wouldn't like sleep in my mom's room because we were really, really scared. And so that's been really interesting, having him be in like healthcare.
How long is that? Is that still going on?
It's not going on still because we have a little more information. I think when it first happened, we literally thought like you touch something and you are going to get it. But it is a little scary, and it's also hard having dad as a doctor because he sees people go through health problems and die like all the time. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that must be tough. I've known several young people whose parents were doctors, and the quarantine situation and being apart for so long. And so, yeah. And so do you feel it's real? Did you feel it's real? When did it become a reality for you that this was something that was pretty serious and was going to stick around?
As soon as everything closed, it became a reality. Or as soon as like people I knew started getting it and passing away from it, that's when it started to get really scary, right? You know, you start to hear people who are passing away that you know. That's really that when things got kind of scary, for me at least.
For me, it felt like a dream. I remember, well, okay, my parents are divorced, so we switched houses, and I remember, like, at one point, my parents were debating whether or not we should, like, keep switching because, like, all the germs, like, going everywhere back and forth. And I was like, whoa, like, what? That's crazy. Yeah.
I think it's, like, in the beginning, I was very, like, scared, and things getting canceled would be, like, very eye-opening. And I think it made everyone really, like, sad. But then I think slowly as it started progressing and, like, everything was just, like, shut down, sports were canceled, things like weddings, you couldn't have people in, like, delivery rooms, graduations. It was really hard seeing my sisters not get to have an in-person proper graduation. I think slowly it became like I almost didn't feel anything. And, like, that sounds, like, deep and, like, kind of sad, but I think it's true. And you see, like, kids being online, it's kind of just everybody's, like, not really there. And I've definitely felt like that slowly.
Another thing for me that was, like, really important, I feel like I lost a lot of friends. And I know that's also, like, really sad to say, but I just, like, you could really see who your real friends were. Like, I had my school friends and my theater friends. And even then, I, like, just drifted apart with everyone. And I feel like I just didn't have anyone except my mom because we would just rotate from there, from our house to my grandma's house. And that's the only places that we went when we were completely locked down. So that was pretty much it. Like,
I feel like
friendships.
My friendships kind of started to fall out of place because my friends were on, my friends and I were on different quarantine schedules. Like, some of my friends would not be quarantined, and I was like, I'm quarantined. And then that would, like, ruin the friendship almost because I couldn't see you, I couldn't bond with you in person. And, like, some people were like, well, that cuts off our communication. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, for me, I only had, like, one, like, really close friend during quarantine because we were neighbors. And so I was allowed to go out of the house and we were allowed to go on bike rides. We weren't allowed in each other's houses. But I was just grateful for the human interaction because I'm the biggest extrovert that you'll ever meet. I get really sad when I'm home by myself. I get very lonely. And my house is just very loud in general. Like, I have a loud voice. My mom has 10 times louder of a voice. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Oh, I'm excited.
Especially in, like, little debates. And then I have a 7-year-old sister who also has super loud voice. So she's, like, running around, like, screaming. And I'm like, oh my God, stop. And so I was just kind of glad to finally, like, get out of the house and, like, just be on my little bike ride. Just like, yes, got to see people. Well, one person. But.
So what was the extent of your quarantine, especially, like, in the early days?
I have, like, a chalkboard wall in my room, and I would tally the days. And I counted it earlier today, and, like, hardcore quarantine, like, really only going to, like, the grocery store was 172 days for me.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
I kind of
would, like, do, like, the little tally marks.
I feel like I should leave it. Like, I feel like I can't erase it. Like, it's there, it's history now.
Yeah, I at least took a picture of it. That'd be so good to, like, show your kids in the future, too.
I didn't start hanging out with, like, a couple of friends at a time until June, like, mid-June. Yeah.
I live in a condo building, so it was, yeah, you had to see people every now and then in the elevator, but besides that, I try to stay home as much as possible.
For me, real quickly, before we go to break, I only a couple months in, I could only see one friend, my best friend, and then we started strictly quarantining again when we figured out that it got worse, and then she was allowed to go out, so then I couldn't see her at all either, which really sucked. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
It definitely has had an impact, and I can certainly relate on the friends and not being able to be around them. Well, this is, it's great to hear your perspective and to hear a little bit about what it was like for you. Your tick marks is, I mean, that's profound. That's what it's been like. And Rapunzel. So we're going to go take a break, but we'll be right back on theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
So I'm a doctor kind of by profession myself, so I understand the importance of expertise and going to the right professional for the right service. AC Doctors exceeded my expectations really just in their service. The technician showed me on his phone how things should work, showed me how things were not working well on my particular unit, and showed the corrections that he would make. They were able to keep my air conditioner unit running smoothly, and I know that here in Arizona that's really important. And so I would want my neighbors and friends to get similar service and similar running air conditioners smoothly and coolly, and AC Doctors can provide that for them. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. Before the break, we were talking about being cooped up with our families for quite some time, putting check marks on the wall. Let's talk about the highs and the lows. Let's start with the low. Can you remember where you were at the lowest point?
I mean, I guess one of the lowest points, or the lowest point, was just realizing that I couldn't see my friends, and when everything really, really sunk in, that was really a low point. And also seeing how many people were passing away and how terrible it was, how many people were being negatively affected by it. That was really difficult, and that was definitely a low, to see how many people were suffering.
Yeah, I think it was difficult to handle at first. Well, I at first it was fun because it was, we got all this free time now because I was so used to, busy. And then I started getting a little worried and not feeling good, right? Not feeling productive. And I said to myself, there are two ways that I can handle this. I can either look at my circumstances and say, this is not good. I can be mad about it, or I can take this time and do something with it and be resilient with my circumstances. Of course, the truth always lies somewhere in the middle. So, it was a balancing act between those things. I tried to be resilient, but it's been difficult.
Mine's a little less deep. I really like going out and eating food like in restaurants. Like that's something that my dad and I do probably once, twice a week, honestly, is we just like go out and like get food and like we go and we sit down in the restaurants. Like when everything started closing, like that like opportunity like kind of like stopped. And like I really like value that quality time with my dad, even though like we were always like at home and stuff. But like that was like kind of like our thing, is that we'd always like go out and like try new restaurants and stuff. And then we couldn't do that anymore.
That's huge. I like to eat, and I know that certainly put a curb to that.
This is really deep, but my grandpa's organs are like shutting down day by day. Like as the days go on, he's like actively dying. And it's just really hard to think about. Like I can't, like he lives in Canada. So like even there, like the quarantine, you have to quarantine for 14 days to like, and then you can go into like the actual places in there. And then even after that, the facility he lives in, there can only be one tested caretaker, which is my grandma, step grandma. But, and so it's just like really sad that like I literally had to say goodbye over Facebook Messenger.
And it wasn't complications from COVID. It was just because he was ill.
But no one, like he has.
Has he passed on or?
No, okay. But he has like 5 kids, 14 grandchildren, and 1 grandchild, and he's dying with 1 person by his side.
That's sad. It's been the hardest thing for me to hear, is that these stories of the nurses holding the phones on FaceTime while the patient is passing away and their loved ones can't be there. So I feel for you, I understand.
I relate to you in that because my uncle, who lives in Texas, had a brain tumor, and it's been going on. He has cancer, and my mom is really, really close with him, and she can't be there, and he doesn't really have a lot of family with him. And My grandma lives in Iowa and she's very old. She's a widow and she loves her kids with like everything and she can't be there either. And it's really hard because my mom will get like the phone call from my grandma, like feeling helpless. And my mom can't really do anything either. So it's difficult not only for people that are going through COVID, but people that are unhealthy from other causes that can't have people help them.
Yeah, my great aunt has a very rare form of cancer. When she got diagnosed, she wasn't supposed to live past 6 months, and she miraculously, like, she has lived the longest that anyone that has been diagnosed with her type of cancer has lived. 2 years since her diagnosis, but she's probably gonna have to spend like the last year of her life in quarantine. And recently, she's just been going out and like seeing her grandkids because she's like, I don't want my last moments to be in my house. Like, I'm gonna die anyway. I wanna be with the people that I love.
Yeah, my grandpa's 98 years old, and he lived 98 years to die with one person by his side.
Back to the hospitals. Yesterday, I lost one of my friends, not due to COVID, but he was in a car crash. And him, his dad, and his sister were all extremely injured. But luckily, his sister, they put her in his room with him while he was passing away. And I knew him for 11 years, kinder through 11th grade. And they let his family come in one at a time, so they couldn't all be there together. But I just remember seeing like all the pictures and all the stuff. Now they're doing some fundraising for their family. So all I can say is live today like Jay.
Yeah. It's not even to like also watching the people that are sick, but also watching the people that have to grieve with it. Like, I want to go hug you right now and I can't. Like, yeah, that's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so many aspects of being in a pandemic, but I think especially what's been hard is the lack of social interaction and also the grief, because it's so natural to want to be with people, especially when they're passing away or, in those moments. Those are important life events. And so I think it's just really, there's just the added layer of not being able to be with people. And I think that makes it, like you said, just especially hard, even if they didn't die of COVID or because of COVID, that people are dying alone. And, that's heartbreaking, obviously. And I think it's just a really difficult situation to be in for a lot of people. And I think we'll be dealing with that as a society for a while afterwards, because this grief isn't going anywhere. Yeah.
Well, if you realize that there's over 440,000 people that have lost their lives in some way or another through COVID, so you multiply that by 2-point-something people, a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a grandma, a grandfather, those who are left to grieve and didn't get that opportunity. I can feel the pain. I can see it. And it has to, it's just profound.
Yeah, one of my cousins, she's actually working in the hospital in the ICU and emergency room, and she's seeing people die every single day in just like big groups. Like every hour people die, and she has to see that. And like, it's honestly, it's traumatizing, especially like having to be there and deal with that and come home, like sit, like you don't know if you're gonna get it next, especially like working there, It's just really hard. She wrote an article about it and how it's just so painful to see people dying and not getting to see their loved ones. She's had to hold up phones for people so that they can see their family from far, even if they're just down in the waiting room.
I really learned the lesson that you never know what you have until you don't have it. I think I never really realized the impact communication had until I literally used it to say goodbye to my grandpa. And it's just you don't realize, everyone's just oh, grandparents, they don't know how to use technology. You don't realize how actually how much of an impact they have on your family and on you until you don't have it. And same with school. You don't realize how much you actually need to be in person and how much you value school until you don't have it.
I would say that my lowest point is probably I'd probably say right now, because I am very thankful. I know a lot of people said that they were really grateful that, or they were really upset that they were losing a lot of their friends, or that they found out who their real friends were. And I have been really grateful because I had two really strong relationships, two really strong like legs to kind of stand on. And recently one of them there's just been kind of a little bit of a falling out. And I'm starting to lose that other one right now. And even last night, just kind of thinking, it's time to figure something out, because I haven't been hanging out with friends at all, ever. This is like, unless I'm at school, which I eat lunch away from everybody. I don't sit with anyone at lunch. It's just I've got to figure out kind of how to branch out more. But that's something that I'm confident that I'll be able to get out of. I think I'm going to be able to find some more relationships to start, and I'm feeling good with that. But right now, I'd say is probably the lowest point of that climb.
If I can put a pin in it, before we go to the break, I think like what people don't realize about the pandemic, or maybe they haven't articulated, is that, even beyond the lives that we're losing and the people, there's so much grief associated with everything that's being lost right now. Experiences, activities people are missing out on, relationships that are falling apart, the physical distance, the lack of just intimacy. And I think that, we have to be willing to give permission to grieve all of those things. And I think some people feel like lives out of, years out of their life are being taken away. And so I think it's important that we give ourselves that permission to feel grief about all of that, not just about the people that lives are being lost.
So if you're feeling that grief at home, take this break to just reflect. We're all going through this. We are all in this together, and it's been difficult. And you're right. We've lost so many things. People, time, places, so many things. We'll be right back on theCUBE.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
My expectations were an open mind, an open book. I wasn't sure because I still was thinking about the other company that I had been with before. So when they came in and their efficiency, their professionalism was so awesome, my expectations were definitely met. From the first call that I make into their call center to the very end of my service, it has definitely been a great journey because every part has been very simple and easy. The main reason that I would recommend AC Doctors is professionalism, efficiency, dependability, and just the friendliness of their staff. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. We're talking today about COVID-19 and its impact on our lives and the lives of our panelists here. We were talking during the break and we're sharing some stories. And Kayla, you were telling us about some folks in your family that got COVID-19.
Yes, so I actually had 4 family members get COVID-19. My grandma, my grandpa, who I call them Lolo and Lala, my great aunt, so my tia, and then my great grandfather. And they all got it at about the same time. And it was really, really scary because they're all in Texas. So we couldn't have been able to say goodbye to them had anything really, really bad happened. I know my dad was really worried because this is his grandfather, his parents, and his aunt. So this was all just very, very stressful. And we were especially worried too because my great grandfather, he's 93. So we were nervous. And all 4 of them also have pre-existing conditions. But I am so blessed and so lucky and so grateful to be able to say that they are all okay and they're still here with us. And I think that was just something that was so incredibly amazing, and it was such a blessing to just know that they're still here and that they were able to make it out of this.
That's sort of a silver lining, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting. This COVID-19, I know it's gotten political over time, but it doesn't appear to be an equal opportunity abuser. Your 94-year-old grandfather can survive it while a 5-year-old can pass away from it, and everything various in betweens. It's tragic. But let's look. This has been trying times. What about silver linings?
I'm going to go a little bit deep into a thing why I have this perspective, and I think it's very different than all of you. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of want to give my silver lining. So when I was younger, I developed an autoimmune disorder. And long story short, if I would go out, almost any infection would affect me. So I was kind of in my own quarantine without really knowing what was going on for 3 years. And so you would think, being in that position that kind of altered my life, you would think that I'd be very scared of the virus because I know the effects. But I think for me, what most people don't see is that I'm actually more scared of not living my life to the fullest. And I feel like I've already spent 3 years in quarantine of my own without really any help except my family. And I've noticed that growing up, my perspective on life is deeper because of, I think, what I went through. And it's really helpful for me in the arts because I can create stuff with what I went through. And so I think a lot of outside people look at the art or the dances I create and think I'm very depressed. And that's something hard for me because I feel like I don't really open up to people unless I really know you. And I'm hoping that they can see I make these arts and I do the things I do to release it. And so it's actually very happy and therapeutic for me. And I love that I can think like that because it does give me that creative ability. But coming from it as a teenager, it's very exhausting to feel very old. I feel very mature and different than most people my age. And so it's been kind of interesting to see the world kind of go through what I've gone through. So even though I don't feel like I've changed a lot in the pandemic, it's been kind of nice. And I'm hoping that the silver lining for me is that other people will see where I come from and learn from it. And it's kind of interesting to feel like I've already lived through unknown. It's been really cool to see. I mean, as much as it's sad, I think we're all gonna come out of this learning something, and it's different for everyone.
For me, I actually saw COVID as sort of a blessing in disguise because I, in 8th grade, was going through a really, really hard time with my mental health. I was so depressed. I couldn't go to school. I would be absent 3-4 days a week. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't. And I would pray every single day. I was like, God, I need a break. I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep going at this pace. The whole world was just moving and I felt like I was stuck. And so quarantine, as horrible as it was sort of kind of that break for me because I really worked on myself. I'm now in a great place. I'm probably the happiest I've been in years. And I've made some amazing friends. Again, I really realized who my real friends are. I've said goodbye to toxic friends I've gone through. My dad had COVID too. He actually had a really big back surgery. And in June, one of his discs ruptured, I think. And so he had to get 2 discs in his back replaced. And so that was a really big surgery. And he actually got COVID in the ER. And so I was not home. I was in California when this happened. I was in California with my friend's family for like 2 weeks. So I wasn't around my dad when he had COVID, but it was really scary because he was already in a really vulnerable position with like the virus on top of it. So it was just a lot.
So the silver lining for you, though, in spite of what was going on with your dad, was that you were able to find yourself and get yourself to a good place. And I'm
Honestly,
sure that
I was just so tired. Like I was like, just like stuck, like everything just like kept on going and going and going. And I was like, there was never a break. And then finally there was months where there was like nothing. And I was actually able to catch up and really work on myself during that period of time, which I think was really, really beneficial for me.
And your dad's okay now?
Yeah, my dad's fine.
Good.
And I think part of the silver linings for me, at least besides being lucky enough to say that my family's all still here, is also just the little things. Like when I got to go back to school, even though it was online the first day, I was like, we're still making progress. We're still moving forward. We're going places. And that was really amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, I was used to being at school for 9 hours a day. And I think moving forward, we don't have to be at school for 9 hours a day. It was a really nice wake-up call for our education system to say, we have access to this technology now. We don't need to be in school all day, right? I don't know how you feel about that, but that's just something that I have thought about.
I think the school system isn't necessarily best for like learning to grow for yourself. It's kind of a lot of like telling you and doing a lot of testing. And I think that Corona was a good thing for kids to find how to be a human and how to live life with being thankful, because as much as we think, we all took things for granted, and now we're excited to even like go to a coffee shop.
It was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said. Meet just learning stuff for yourself. The biggest silver lining for me, I've been able to pick up just various skills. My favorite one is music theory, and just getting into that for the very first time, it's so cool.
Well, at least we can end on a happy note to find that silver lining in something that can be so tragic and so sad and so different and so out of our control. So I hope that you will, and everyone at home will continue to reflect on those silver linings, especially when something like this has happened. And hopefully this will never happen again. And hopefully we'll see that light at the end of the tunnel and we'll be out of this soon. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back on theCUBE.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here.
Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. Doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G. You all right, girl?
You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. Susie, awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back to theCUBE. Before we leave you today, we wanted to leave you with some happy thoughts. And we were sitting here reflecting on, once this is all over, what can we not wait to do? So we're gonna go around quickly. Kate.
Okay, I cannot wait to hug my friends and family again.
I cannot wait to be in a show or do something with other people again.
I cannot wait for my family to come visit me at school in New York and be able to roam around the city with my friends.
I cannot wait to have a real high school experience.
We'll come back to this.
I cannot wait for West Coast swing dancing and Deaf Coffee Night.
Awesome.
I can't wait for concerts. I love concerts. It's my favorite thing ever. I'm hopefully seeing The Weeknd in August, so fingers crossed.
So we don't have Shaylee on here, but do you have something you can just tell me real fast?
I just can't wait to get out more.
Shaylee can't wait to get out more. Kylie?
I'm not sure. I'm excited for everything, just to see what it's like without it.
How about you, Tristan?
I think I'm excited to travel again.
I say all of the above to all of them. So ask yourself, what do you have to look forward to, and focus on that. Thank you for joining us today here on theCUBE. We'll be back here every Saturday at 1 p.m. Don't worry if you miss us on Saturday. You can see any episode on demand anytime, exclusively on ktsmaz.com. Remember to try to understand the other person's side of the cube. You may be surprised at what you learn. We'll see you back next week. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Ellie Pompey, and one thing I know is life as a teenager is far from easy. Every single day, we go through many challenges and face many problems. You can often find yourself asking questions like, is this normal? Nobody else feels like this. Why doesn't anybody understand me? The truth is, the answer to all these problems can be found on theCUBE. theCUBE is our show right here on KTSM AZ, where my fellow hosts and I share our opinions on everyday problems as a teen in this generation. Please take a look into becoming a sponsor or advertiser for our show so we can stay on the air as long as possible. Teens need this type of connection in their life to know that they are not alone and that they are worth it. Join our team and support our show so we can help reach teens all over. Thank you.
You can support theCUBE by purchasing commercial spots during our show, become an individual sponsor, or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teens. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you.